Good morning, good afternoon, or good night, and welcome to Command Power, the show where we discuss all things Magic the Gathering with a focus on Commander. And today we have an awesome one because we're going to be doing a deck tech on the Most Dangerous Gamer, a new commander from Unfinity. So if you don't know what he does, he's a 2/2 with Death Touch, and whenever he enters the battlefield or attacks, you're going to open an attraction, and whenever you open an attraction, you're going to get a +1/+1 counter on him. So this is a commander that grows by itself pretty easily, but then it has one more ability, and that is whenever you claim the prize of an attraction, you get to destroy target permanent. That being said, there's only one attraction that gives prizes that is legal in Eternal. So to get this to its full potential, you're going to have to ask permission for your playgroup to play some of the other ones, but they should be fine. I think it's pretty awesome and it's not too powerful anyway. So without further ado, let's see how we're going to be building the Most Dangerous Gamer. And we're starting with Lifetime Pass Holder. This is obviously a no-brainer, get it, because it's a zombie, in this deck, because every time it dies, you're going to open an attraction, and then whenever you roll a 6 for your attractions, you can get it back straight to the battlefield. So this is going to be great synergy in the deck, and it's going to keep recurring. It's really awesome. Next up we have Atom Wheel Acrobats. We're building a nice little dice rolling theme into this deck because I'm really loving it so far. And this one is a nice creature that grows and guarantees that even if we roll a 1 on our attractions, we still don't feel too bad about it. Celebrate 1000 is a nice one that's going to let us roll dice and add a little bit of randomness and fun to the game. It's going to get keywords based on what we roll, so that's a nice little card right there. Center of Attention is awesome because it's going to be absolutely massive. It's basically Yahtzee on a card. So you're rolling 5 dice and storing all the results, and then you can re-roll the results you don't like until you get a double. It's going to get +X based on what the biggest pair of results are. So if you're pretty lucky and you roll 2 6s right off the bat, this is a 9/9 for 5. Not too shabby. Clay Golem is a nice one that's going to let us roll dice and also deal with an opponent's permanent. Deadbeat Attendant is amazing, and not just for the name, it also opens an attraction when it enters the battlefield. That's fantastic in this deck. Discourtesy Clerk is one of the best cards in the deck. It's going to open an attraction, and then when we have 3 attractions in play, which is going to be quite easy, we're going to lose a life and draw a card at the end of our end step. Draconic Gatebot is going to open an attraction when it comes into play, or destroy one of our opponent's attractions if attractions become the new meta, which I'm sure they will. Druid of the Emerald Grove is a pretty good card, and in this deck we have a couple of ways to manipulate the die rolls, so it should be able to become at least a cultivate most of the time. Elvish Mystic is a nice little bit of ramp. Evolution Sage is going to work with all of the creatures that get counters put on them. There's quite a few of those in this deck, including our commander, so it's pretty nice. Iron Mastiff can be really strong in the right situation, and if you roll well, it can deal a bunch of damage to our opponents, so we're cool with that. Line Cutter is going to let us roll to visit all of our attractions on ETB. That is a really strong ability to have. Neverwinter Hydra is interesting because it's going to get really big depending on how many dice we roll. If you play it for 8, this could be an 18/18, which is nothing too shabby. We also have a bunch of ways to double ETB abilities, which this then gets ridiculous with. Next up we have Nothic. It's a 5-drop, and when it dies we can draw up to 7 cards if we roll well, but most of the time it's going to draw us 2. That's fine. Quick Fixer can be really good if we get it down early when people don't have that many blockers. It can kind of sneak in and deal some damage and then open an attraction each time it does that, which can get out of hand. Ravenous Chupacabra is a nice little bit of removal on a stick. We want creatures with ETBs since we have ways to double them. Incinerate Acrobat is not the most exciting card in the world, but it is going to open an attraction when it comes into play, and then it can be a 4/4 reach, which is an okay buddy. Squirrel Squatters is going to open an attraction when it comes into play, and it's a really good payoff for attractions since when it attacks we're going to get a 1/1 squirrel for each attraction we visited this turn. Once we have a bunch of attractions going, this can start snowballing out of control. Sylvan Shepherd is kind of a filler card, but it's still fine. We have a few ways that we're losing life, so it's nice to get some life back with this, and we're rolling dice, which is something we want in this deck. Tangled Florahedron is just a nice little bit of ramp. Timeless Witness is a bit of recursion for our deck. We do want to be able to bring some of our cards back in case they get destroyed. Resolute Vegisaur should be triggering almost every turn, so it's going to get a +1/+1 counter and grow every turn. That can get pretty big very quickly. It's also absolutely hilarious. Petting Zookeeper is just another way to open attractions. Soul Swindler is going to be really good for beating down. Since late in the game, this is almost always going to be a 5/3 indestructible during our turn. That's pretty annoying for our opponent to deal with. It also opens an attraction on ETB. And Xeno Squirrels is one of my favorite ones in the deck. It's going to enter with 2+1/+1 counters. We have a couple of ways to proliferate, so we should be able to get more counters on it. And after we roll a die, we can remove a counter from Xeno Squirrels to add or remove 1 from the result. So it's really nice to be able to adjust our results so we always get to visit the attractions we need. Moving on to the artifacts, we've got our mana ramp. The usual things apply. Play these cards. You need mana ramp in your deck. Then we have Bag of Tricks, which is really interesting. It can actually whiff. There's a few mana costs that we don't really have, but for the most part, this is going to be hitting some nice stuff, and we can adjust the result somewhat. Bucknard's Everfull Purse is a cool one. We're going to be rolling some dice and gifting this to the next player, and if they're game and they're fun people, they'll just eventually keep gifting it around. Clown Car is a really good mana sink. It's never going to be bad in this deck. We're either going to get a bunch of 1/1s or we're going to get a bunch of counters, but either way, we're pretty happy, and we're rolling a dice. Conjurer's Closet is going to let us rebuy all those ETBs and open more attractions. Mirage Mirror is really good because we can use it during our turn to copy an attraction and then get the effects from it. Do be aware that you need to do it before rolling your die, so make sure you copy whatever you're going to copy first. Mirrorworks is really good because whenever we get an attraction, we're going to be able to pay 2 extra and just get a copy of it. This works so well with our commander because his attraction triggers cost nothing, so they just happen on attack. So being able to pay an extra 2 and just get an extra attraction is fantastic. Panharmonicon is going to double all of our ETB triggers. There's a lot of them in this deck, including our commander. Sculpting Steel is going to let us come in and copy our best attraction on the battlefield. That's awesome. Strength Training Hammer is one I really like. I think it's a good card that could see play in normal decks, not even silly ones. And you could just roll a die to give one of your creatures +X+0. That's pretty solid. And then if it has the highest power on the battlefield, you're going to draw a card. Our commander grows by itself, so it should be one of the biggest creatures in play. Sword of Hours is similarly good for glowing our commander. It's going to get bigger every time it attacks. And then if we get lucky and we roll well, it can get even bigger and double the counters on itself, which is awesome. The Deck of Many Things is just there for fun. If we roll well, it can be really fantastic. And in this deck, there are so many ways to manipulate the effects. You can even roll 20 while you have cards in your hand, which is awesome. Treasure Chest is there for more shenanigans. We're pretty happy if we roll a 20 since we can search up a bunch of good things onto the battlefield, such as Mirrorworks. Same thing with Vexing Puzzle Box. We're going to be rolling a lot of dice, so this is going to get big very quick, and then we can search up our Mirrorworks and put it into play and get the attraction theme park going. For sorceries, we have Attempted Murder. I just think this is hilarious. We're going to roll a bunch of die and try to kill something, or get a bunch of Stormcrows instead, which is awesome. Next up, we have Black Hole, which is going to almost be a board wipe in the right situation, but at least it's going to let us deal with 2 or 3 creatures, probably. That's a pretty solid kill spell for 4 mana. Step Right Up is one of the best ways to open attractions in the deck. It's going to open 2 attractions straight up for 4 mana. Becoming Attraction is a nice little bit of ramp that's going to open an attraction. Cultivate is just good ramp. Dance Macabre can be really good in this deck. We can sacrifice one of our ETB creatures and then roll and hopefully roll well and get 2 things back from anybody's graveyard, which is really awesome. Miracle's Edict is a nice little bit of removal. If we roll well, it can be really good. Nature's Law is a nice little bit of ramp. Overwhelming Encounter is one of our finishes of choice. We're rolling dice, which is one of the things we want to be doing in this deck, and it's just going to give all our creatures a nice big pump to finish the game. Rampant Growth is a little bit more ramp. Same with 3 visits. And Wild Encounter can be good when we can manipulate the results of the dice. It can just give us a bunch of lands if we need them, or a bunch of creatures, whatever's better in the situation. For instance, we have Grave Endeavor. It's going to reanimate something from a graveyard and make it really huge. Doing it at instant speed is really nice. It's also going to drain our opponents for a bunch of damage and heal us, so it does a lot of things that we like. Heroic Intervention is a little bit of protection for our board. Inspiring Call should be decent in this deck. We have a couple of creatures with +1/+1 counters, but even if it's just doing it for our commander, we're fine with that. Paradise Lost. I just love this pun. But anyway, it's going to be returning any number of cards from our graveyard equal to the results we roll. This is very high variance. It could be fantastic. If you roll a 12, you could be getting 5 cards back. But if you roll poorly, it could be absolute garbage. So it's good if we have some ways to modify the result. And Song of Inspiration is, again, a little bit more recursion from our graveyard. We also have 6-sided die, which is my favorite pun in the entire deck. Just fantastic. It's going to do a completely random thing depending on what you roll. So obviously you want to be rolling well. That's my best advice for this card. As long as you don't roll a 1 and you're targeting something small, you're probably good, but still, fantastically fun card. We also have Night Shift of the Living Dead, which is one of the best cards in the deck. So you can pay 1 life to modify the result of a roll. You can only do it once per turn, which is a pity, but still pretty good. And then whenever you roll a 6, you're going to get yourself a nice little zombie. For lands, we have Bajuka Bog, which is nice for dealing with graveyards. We have Bonder's Enclave to draw some cards. Aggro Brood Pit is a nice bit of removal. Hall of the Bandit Lord is going to let our gamer attack immediately, which is great. Khan's Bastion is there to proliferate those counters that we're going to be putting on stuff. Mosswort Bridge should be pretty easy to trigger since our commander grows bigger over time. Shizo is a nice way to make sure that our gamer gets through for damage. Underdark Rift is a cool piece of remove that also rolls a die for all of those synergies. And War Room is going to draw us a few more cards. And then here I'm going to quickly put up in these next few slides all of our attractions. There are 28 of them in total, so please just have a look at them and see which ones you want. You might consider using different ones or removing the commander illegal ones if your playgroup doesn't allow it. That's up to you. So anyway, this has been our deck tech for the most dangerous gamer. I hope you enjoyed it. I can't wait to play with this deck. This is going to be the most fun I've had in years. Soon we'll be posting a Myra deck tech, so stay tuned for that because that one may even be more wacky than this one. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like or subscribe and let me know in the comments below what you thought of it. I read all comments and respond to all of them too. And until next time, take care.